Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on the day after, Sunday morning, day after the Belmont Stakes. I want to thank Jack Knowlton and the Sackatoga crew for inviting us to their watch party up at Pennell's yesterday. Bruce Cerrone as well from Pennell's, who is also a partner in Tis the Law. We'll have interviews with both of them. If you didn't see, we talked with Jack Knowlton right after the race yesterday. We'll replay that a little bit later on. And we also had a few minutes with, as I say, Bruce Cerrone, owner of Pennell's, but also a member of the partnership. And clearly, they were very happy with the results yesterday, as were we, being able to kind of sit in and watch during the afternoon. So we'll do that a little bit later on. But we're going to go through the stakes races and kind of take a recap look at the nice stakes action, Belmont Stakes and the undercard stakes as well. And I thought, who better to reach out to? My loose on the league colleague during the summertime Saratoga meet. And I should say, for folks who are wondering, yes, we will be back again this summer, so we'll make that announcement now. But also Sirius and XM's at the races, and he was down at Belmont this week, and I thought we'd also get a little feel for a fanless Belmont this week leading into the big stakes race. Steve Bick. Steve, good morning.
Seth, good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Happy to have you on board. And before we talk about the week leading up to and you being down there on the grounds, and also, as I say, we'll go through and recap some of the stakes action. Haven't talked to you here on the TV side since the pandemic, and I'm just wondering what it was like for you. I've been asking all the guests the past couple of weeks. I know I kid with everybody. We all played a little Fonner. I know you were in on Fonner because you did a great job. The radio show kept plugging along, didn't miss a beat, and the 5 tracks that kept running gave you some racing action to talk about. Typically, you also have breeding conversations and whatnot. All of that filled out your schedule. So talk a little bit about the quarantine period and how you managed through it.
Well, we just tried essentially to provide, a touchstone for industry people and stakeholders and horse players and fans, and utilize, pretty much anything that made sense to discuss, and that included a lot of historical stuff during Derby and Preakness. Was able to actually enjoy a number of visits and kind of go back historically with actually a number of riders, and we also kind of celebrated during the release of the Hall of Fame inductees, those that are going to wait till next year to be inducted. Really, enjoyed spending time with guys like John Leaf and Chris Katulak, and giving Fonner and Will Rogers Downs plenty of attention. We even got the people from Dinsdale Automotive Group. The
Dinsdale Pick 5.
Yeah, I had to. Even if it was just a beau jest, I had to reach out to them, and it really, as it happens, the general manager or the president of Dinsdale happens to be the president of Fonner Park. So there's some real connections, and of course, Fonner and Grand Island ended up being heavily hit. It's pretty miraculous that they were able to even operate the way they did, given the meatpacking plants in and around Grand Island, and that was a hot spot.
Yeah.
The teeth of the entire situation. I mean, the situation isn't over by any stretch, despite people trying to pretend that it is. The fact that they made it through, and I think that the best part of the Fonner experience was people being reintroduced to the 3/4 mile track, to the bull ring concept of racing. And I thought that was actually the most interesting sidebar to the whole experience, was the people, other than those that watch, the place like Charlestown, there just aren't any bull rings left.
Yeah.
So that, getting used to that, once you adjusted to knowing there was going to be a lot of hurly-burly going on in the turns and what you had to deal with. I mean, people were outraged by that, the DQ. Well, that's what goes on a bull ring, and explaining that to people was really interesting. Tony Black and Paul Matisse. I had Paul come on, and because Paul loves the bull ring, that's one of his favorite styles of racing. So we just tried to give everybody 3 hours to stay distracted and maybe just be able to escape for a while. And I'm very pleased with the way the 2.5 months came off. Plus we were in constant contact with all of the management of racetracks that were trying to reboot and work their way through state government approvals and health department approvals, and it's been a fascinating period. And I thought the industry distinguished itself brilliantly through this, and we continue. I mean, look at we even won over Andrew Cuomo.
Yes, that was amazing for folks who didn't see that yesterday.
Well, and how about that? Forget the lead up and him doing the Riders Up taping. He was tweeting after the race about how great it was. New York bred, 130 years. This may have been a watershed event when it comes to Andrew Cuomo being won over as a racing fan. Yeah. So it's kind of funny.
Keep our fingers crossed there. But yeah, again, you did a yeoman's job during the quarantine period. And hats off, too, to the 5 tracks, Gulfstream, Tampa, Oaklawn, Will Rogers, and Fonner, who set the protocols up that the other tracks that have now opened up could kind of build off of as well. But as you say, Fonner was a lot of fun. I was jumping in on those mandatories. And, yeah, you have to kind of tinker with your handicapping a little bit. The 2-turn 6 furlong race, and it was a lot of $100 million in handle they did at Fonner. It's amazing. All right, let's get to Belmont. But before we get to the races in particular, again, you had the radio show down there for a few days this week in the lead up to the Belmont Stakes Day card. What was the track like with no fans?
Well, it's a unique, obviously, it's a unique situation. And, in the mornings from 9 to noon when I'm doing the show, there was only, slightly less activity than there would be. I mean, obviously, if it was a Triple Crown prize, if it was just a regular Belmont lead-up, there would have been a lot more media. There would have been a lot more people just kind of milling and being in on the scene. But there was, particularly on Thursday, actually, there was still a nice crowd down on the track apron in front of the Belmont Cafe, and a few news crews that made the journey out. And it didn't feel all that different until the racing started. I actually left on Friday after the show Friday. Did not stay for yesterday because I didn't really think I didn't have any media activity yesterday, of course, because I'm Monday through Friday, and they only wanted essential and people that were involved in reporting and so forth from the media side. There were only 14, the presence of 14 media people on track. So I came back and actually enjoyed yesterday because I got to play Ascot in the morning and then just kind of parlay Ascot into the Belmont card, which started early. And so I didn't stay for yesterday, but I can't imagine it was any different than what we've experienced Thursday and Friday. It's just an eerie situation. You hear the horses even more clearly than normal. Hear the jocks, kind of barking sometimes at each other, or scooting and booting. You hear them, hey, you hear a lot more verbiage, and that's it. It's it's very surreal. And I think the photographs, Adam Cotton and Skip Dixon's pictures, the ones from inside the rail looking up at the building, they really capture it. I mean, with just, the vastness of Belmont and not a soul in the seats. It was very strange, but it came off fine. And hopefully we'll never have to deal with it again.
Yeah, exactly. And it did come off nicely, kicking off the Triple Crown, the 2020 Triple Crown, and played out, for us being at Pennell's, it played out great. But it is nice to have a New York bred win, and let's jump into it. We're going to watch the entire Belmont Stakes and get some of your thoughts. I handicapped the race yesterday, obviously, and I said, the layoff was the concern. And had this been for a comparable layoff from the first Saturday in May, the Kentucky Derby, would have meant a horse coming to the Derby from the Sam Davis the first week in February, and you just never see that. So the layoff was a concern, but with the recent defections, I said, he's just the best 3-year-old right now. And so given that scenario, the 1.125 distance of this race, the one turn, and the way he was working out, he just seemed like he was the best horse in this group. And as I say, as we watch the race, he's going to validate that thought. It will be number 8, Tis the Law, winning. Number 9, Dr. Post gets up for second. Number 3, Max Player gets up for third. Pneumatics fourth. Tap It to Win. The 1 winds up fifth. Sol Volante winds up sixth in here. But as I say, Steve, Tis the Law just seems at this point in the season to be the best 3-year-old, and he validated it yesterday. What were your thoughts?
I think you essentially, hit all the elements. He was the best horse coming in. He absolutely was ridden like the best horse. That's part of what makes the story so pleasant. Is Manny Franco now essentially? It's hard to say he's on equal terms. Puerto Rican countrymen, as it were, the Ortiz brothers. But for Manny Franco, this is a big step forward, and especially when we go back to last year and the criticism of Manny and some of the questions when you go after that Kentucky Jockey Club. He's now answered those. I mean, he essentially was sitting up and just waiting for the appropriate time to move. And the Law looked the winner virtually every step of this race. And in sparkling time, I was actually surprised that he wasn't more heavily set. Ended up at 4-5 by the time the gates opened, but pretty much leading in, he was good money. And I thought he could have been the way some backer horses get set. There was going to have to be something going wrong, essentially, for Tis the Law to lose this race. And so from that standpoint, you still got to go out and execute, and that's what they did. And in terms of being prepared, you're never going to have to worry that Mark Gag and Robin Spielman and that team, they're going to have the horse ready. And there was never a question. And even going to the gate, you could see Tis the Law. There's something for those of you that enjoy watching the physicality of horses and the horses touting themselves, quote unquote. He had the prize fighter strut going on when they were heading out, and not only was he prancing, but when you see the horse with their neck bowed and head down, I can tell you that the horse that it reminded me of was Summerbird when he was heading down the tunnel and out for his Belmont Stakes. And horses will start to snort when they're in that mode. And you could just see pre-race that he was puffing up and that he was like a proverbial, tight coil that was ready to spring. So you didn't have to worry. I didn't think about anything. I mean, if there was a betting, he was a single on every single possible angle and play, and then just went out and get accomplished, and that made it very satisfying. You fold in the 17 years between Sunnyside and this, Sackatoga, Barkley Tag. I sent out a note on Twitter last night that by winning this Belmont, Barkley Tag joined Nick Zito, Wayne Lucas, and Bob Baffert as contemporary era horsemen that have won all three races. And considering, think about that. I mean, considering how many horses Barkley gets, and his operation, he gets just some nice horses from some nice clients. He gets the horses from Mr. 50, but to have two horses like this, be not just winners of Triple Crown races, but there's every reason to believe that this horse is now a favorite in the Travers, and we'll see from there. But there's no reason to think that he can't just keep winning. And the people that were bothered by the distance question, he would have won this race if they ran it at Morris Park at 2 miles and 3/4. Anybody saying, well, if it was a mile and a half, he would have won by as much as Gamine won by at the Acorn. This was, I mean, just a trouncing. The rest of that field isn't in his league.
A 100 buyer figure, and as you say, one of the side stories, Barkley Tag and Manny Franco picking up the classic victory, and so congratulations to them and the whole team. Unfortunately, one of the unfortunate parts of the story is they bought him a couple of years ago for the New York Bread at the New York Bread sale right up here at Saratoga. I know you guys have participated in that sale as well, and it's become more and more popular over the last few years. But this year, with it being moved to Kentucky, they won't be able to the Facing Tipton won't be able to build on this momentum necessarily. They'll do it at Kentucky, but it would have been fun to see the sale this year and be able to point to Tiz the Law as being a graduate coming out of that in the New York Bread sale.
Well, they're still going to sell. You got a sale next week at Timonium, where they're going to sell a bunch of New York Breads. Facing Tipton will have no trouble banging that drum. Don't worry about that.
All right, let's go back, and you alluded to it a couple of moments ago. Obviously, the highlight of the day and a 100 buyer figure, an American classic. It was Tiz the Law as the highlight, but the performance of the afternoon, just stunning. We're going to look at the Acorn here. I took a shot beating her. I used Casual, and Casual is going to be the number 4 horse in here, but Gamine, the number 1 horse in the Acorn yesterday. If she goes back to the performance in the race at Oaklawn, yes, she's going to be very, very tough. And she not only went back, she surpassed that. We're going to watch Gamine in the stretch of the Acorn. Again, the number 1 horse just pull away. A 110 buyer figure. Talk a little bit about Gamine and the Acorn.
Well, that figure is probably a little low. I think Andy Beyer was, was a little conservative with that figure. Honestly, this was really one of those confirmation performances. Baffert had been alluding to her talent and the expectation and her ability level. I know people are going to carry on when those split samples come back, and she's probably going to get disqualified from that allowance win at Oaklawn with the lidocaine problem. But that's immaterial. This performance, people were invoking Ruffian, and it's a fair comparison. This was just spectacular, and she's going to be a lot of fun. And immediately, is going to, rocket to the not just rocket. She's, installed as your obvious Kentucky Oaks favorite for down the road. And I don't know why people feel obligated after a performance like that right away. Oh, she should be in the Triple Crown race. She should be in the. Stop with that. She's not Triple Crown nominated. It's so stupid, as if that's some sort of a necessary confirmation of how good the filly is. Stop. Let her just do what's in her scope and what's on the agenda before worrying about that. I mean, this is the horse's third career start, so it was just breathtaking, and you could see that. I mean, she was gathering momentum as she went. It was unbelievable. And Baffert had been hinting at this for months. I mean, he kind of expected that there was going to be something spectacular coming from her, and there it was.
John Velasquez on board, and just a phenomenal performance. The chart margin over 18 lengths, and as they say, a 110 buyer, which you think may have been a little low there. Just phenomenal from Gamine. On the resume, Swiss Skydiver is more accomplished on talent, though. Gamine just yesterday kind of stepped away from that 3-year-old filly group. I was going chronologically, I skipped over the Jaipur, so let's go back to that, and I want to show that because, boy, that turf course has been playing very fast. Just Friday, Jack and Noah, 107, but Alexandra yesterday just misses the track record by a tick. And we'll watch that, and Alexandra is going to be the number 2 horse. West Point Thoroughbreds in Kanthaka, they've come east with this one to try turf, presumably, and look pretty good, being a good second in there. Texas Wedge runs third. Pure Sensation, the 9-year-old on the comeback. I wasn't sure off the layoff and being 9 years old. That one disappoints a little bit running 7th, but it was a nice win from Alexandra. As I say, a tick off the track record at 106.80. This is a nice performance.
This is a supremely talented mare, and it kind of all came together in this spot for her. And she certainly got the kind of setup that she was looking for. They've been sky high. The Team Dollar people have been sky high on her. One of our partners, Steve Carlin, he's a partner with Team Valor for years, and he's in on Alexandra, and he's been raving about her, and he thought she wouldn't lose as long as there was an honest pace. Joel Rosario, you hear Andy Sterling say it all the time. Joe Rosario is, if not just currently the best turf sprint rider anywhere in the country, he's one of the best turf sprint riders ever. He has a absolutely brilliant knack. I mean, he's just as good coming from off the base in longer races, but particularly in turf sprint, his timing is just impeccable. And what it did spoil, you referenced Sackatoga. It wasn't just a good performance or a nice performance. Of course, it was off over a year.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable performance, and there's a lot of people, that Andy Sterling was on Kanthaka, and 16-1. In fact, the fact that he was 16-1 to me sort of, it took a little bit of money essentially, and he ended up. I didn't think that he'd be in position to compete, that well in this spot, but he ran absolutely an incredible race. They went real fast. I mean, the fact that Hidden Scroll and Pure Sensation ended up last and second to last by 15, 18 lengths themselves, they just gutted each other. Hidden Scroll finally broke sharp, and it looked like connecting the dots and putting things together. I don't know what Belmont's going to do with him. I mean, it's got to be just a bad thing to have a horse with that kind of talent, and then just turn in one.
Maybe it's a one race a year for him, because his career debut was fabulous, and then the seasonal debut this year was fabulous. But when I mean fabulous, spectacular. But he just has not lived up to it in his other races. A very strange career for Hidden Scroll.
No doubt about it. But the drive for the Grade 1 and a berth at Keeneland in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, which actually shortens up even shorter, and frankly, that doesn't hurt Alessandra's chances at all, given her style and they go wickedly fast in a 5.5 furlong turf sprint. So it's pretty nice. I would say must have been about an hour and a half maybe, because not only did Beal Drysdale send out Alessandra in the Jaipur, but Toinette came back and was fabulous, winning the Wilshire at Santa Anita. So Beal Drysdale wins on both coasts yesterday in graded stakes.
Yeah, coast to coast. You got to like that. The sixth race on the card yesterday, the Wonder again for the 3-year-old fillies, going a mile on the grass. Short field of only 5. Sweet Melania kind of stood out to me. I went in that direction. Hadn't been seen since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. And again, this year it's kind of funny. Most of these horses probably would have come back a little sooner, as opposed to getting the seasonal debut at, late June, as it were. So that would be the concern. But she went off as a 6-5 favorite. She won pretty convincingly. The number 2 horse in here, Highland Glory, the number 3 second, number 4 Antoinette third in here. Selflessly, maybe a little bit disappointing. Lightly raced for Chad and Klarovich. Selflessly winds up last in the field of 5, but a nice performance from Sweet Melania.
American Pharaoh that was bred by Vinny Viola in the St. Elias, and the Lows, Bob and Luana Low, nice for them, and get a great stake win with this filly, and she figured to control it on the front end, and I'm sure when we talk about the Woody Stevens, we can bring up the same topic, which is one of the frustrations of this card or any occasion when you don't get fuller field is that you just don't really know. And Sweet Melania is very nice, and nobody's going to question her quality. But you just, with these 5-horse fields, you don't necessarily get enough pace and enough variables when it comes to style that you would with an 8, 9, 10-horse field. You want these horses to get tested and pressed, and if a horse that has to win on the front end, well then let them turn back, a few different challenges. I mean, she controlled this race up front and then scooted away, and okay, that's nice. Go on with it, and there'll be other occasions with ideally fuller fields coming together, and test her further. But she figured, and she's the kind of horse that if you handicap publicly, you pick her second and you reach for a potential upsetter as your choice. But that she's an A on your ticket, and you sort of give in to the likelihood. But let's go on with it. I don't know. We'll talk to Todd Fletcher probably tomorrow, because not only did Todd have that win, but the maiden first timer. I'm more interested, frankly, in talking to
the Super
Fletcher
Saver.
about Happy.
Yeah.
That was a stunning performance. And if you tie it to, because it was 7 furlongs, if you put that race up against the Woody Stevens, there's a big spread between them in terms of the way the figure came back. Andy Beyer gave an 89 to Happy Saver and 100 to No Parole. I'm sorry. Those performances are a lot closer than that. They're only separated by 1/10 of a second on the clock. And granted, the races were run differently. No Parole essentially got away with an early, kind of an easy opening quarter, then gutted them by quickening in the middle part of the race, and basically made everybody chase, and they all panicked, and he basically just ran them off their feet. Happy Saver just kept going and getting better, and a couple of times he got probed, and eased away. It was a more even performance, and that's a serious horse that Todd Fletcher unveiled yesterday.
Yeah.
Happy Saver. Mark him down. I'll have Beyer on probably tomorrow or Wednesday or Tuesday. I would guess that No Parole ran more like a 95, 96, and that Happy Saver ran like a 92. Those two performances are very, very close, with Seth, of course, as a down the road Alan Jerkins contender.
Yeah, interesting. It was a nice-looking performance there. Speaking of nice-looking performances, I say it all the time. I love the subdivision of the 3-year-olds on the turf. That's what we saw in the Pennine Ridge. I had proven strategies over Decorated Invader, and the more I talked on the handicapping shows yesterday and during the day, I thought, you know what, I went in the wrong direction. The Decorated Invader probably was the tilt I should have gone. I just had them flip-flopped from the way they came under the wire. But as I say, I should have used Decorated Invader. We'll watch the stretch run of the Pennine Ridge. It will be number 1 Decorated Invader getting it done over number 3 Proven Strategies. But as I say, I love this subdivision. It's usually very competitive. During the spring, summer, and fall, there are a number of races for the 3-year-olds around the country, stakes races on the turf that make this a fun division. Last year, it just was a little bit ill-defined. This year, it's very defined. This is the top of this class, the subdivision of this class, 3-year-olds on the turf. Decorated Invader for West Point looked really good yesterday for the second win in 2 starts this year. Second stakes win, second pretty good-looking stakes win this year.
Well, this is a serious horse.
Yeah.
This is probably, for right now, see some other horses coming back, as summer racing and turf season really gets serious. This is a serious 3-year-old turfer, and all evidence to this point is that he's the best 3-year-old male in the country. So I don't even it's not. I don't even up for debate. This is a really good horse, really good.
Yeah, Joe Rosario on board, Christophe Clement trains, and as I say, a very, very nice performance to continue what has been a good career so far, certainly. The blemish, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but with the trip, that one was much, much better than that 4th place finish, and so it's been a good career so far. Looking forward to presumably maybe a little Hall of Fame. We'll see what is next for Decorated Invader. But let's go back. We've alluded to it already a couple times. To Woody Stevens, typically on the Belmont Stakes undercard, a nice race for the 3-year-old sprinters. Again, a short field in here of only 5, but No Parole gets it done on the front end. No Parole is going to be the number 1 horse. I liked a little bit of Echo Town. He just could never kind of get in gear and got up for second, but he was no threat to the winner in here. Shoplifted, who was a little bit intriguing too. Shoplifted, who, of course, we saw up here at Saratoga, second career start, ran second in the Hopeful, and then just didn't quite live up to that. But it was a decent little third. Again, not threatening the winner at all, but Shoplifted gets kind of back on track. But No Parole, as I say, takes him all the way around.
This race was over literally 2 jumps in. Just immediately was over. Gustavus Alex really didn't have much early. It didn't look like he was kind of listless. And when No Parole got that lead as easily as he did, there was no doubt that he wasn't going to get caught. And Amos, I tweeted this yesterday after the race. Amos has done a absolutely brilliant job with this kind of a horse. A state bred, a Louisiana bred, so they got to run against their own kind early on. They establish some form. They win a Premier Night race for him against Labred, becomes a state-bred stake winner. They take their opportunity to going to stretch out, and is the horse going to point towards the Classic? The answer is no. And there's them going in to the Rebel that they were asking a lot, and that they were far from convinced that he was going to join the heavy heads for 9 furlongs and beyond. So then, what do? You reset the program, return back to sprint distance, and you get set up for a Grade 1 opportunity, and he capitalizes. It's a huge win for Hillendale Farm. I'll put in a plug for John Secura and Violence, is just tearing it up this year. Violence gets his first Grade 1 winner. Maggie Moss game so liberally, and Amos does a absolutely brilliant job, and I was really impressed. This was a nice execution. I really respect when somebody understands what they've got in a horse, and you test your capabilities and aptitude, and then you adjust as you go. And now he's a Grade 1 winner. So well done to Tom Amos and Maggie Moss and company.
That was the stakes action yesterday at Belmont. And Steve, before we take a break, and we'll take a little look at that mandatory pay Empire 6 today down at Belmont. But before we do that, I just wanted to, the guys in the control room, maybe if you can pull up the stretch run to the coronation yesterday at Royal Ascot. I wanted to show, we mentioned Kanthaka with a good second at Belmont for Graham Motion. Graham Motion ships Sharing over to try the Royal Ascot coronation. Winds up second behind Alpine Star. I thought the ride, and you can see with the white cap there sitting in that back tier, Sharing's going to make a nice late run. But I thought the ride she just should have been, in my opinion, a little closer earlier, because by the time she gets started, she has a little too much work to do and can eventually catch the winner, despite a nice late run. That's her on the outside in the white cap. But Sharing winds up second yesterday at Royal Ascot. Again, good for them for going over and taking the shot. But as I say, I'm not sure I was thrilled with the ride, given where she was placed early in the race. What were your thoughts on Sharing yesterday?
Well, Sharing, I thought distinguished herself. It took a very clever rail skim from Frankie Dettori to win that race, and I'm not going to, I don't know, first opportunity to ride Sharing, but Alpine Star, it's a serious horse. And so nothing wrong with Sharing's effort in there. I suppose we can also acknowledge Wesley Ward's effort, because Pennell for Stone Street winning earlier in the day. And also Wesley ends up with a win in 2 seconds. And I mean, on Friday, he got beat, 2 minutes, essentially. Kamari kind of blew the brake and came late, and then Golden Pal. It took a tremendous. There's the fact Ocean Murphy on Learjet is the one that caught Golden Pal at Penny. So Wesley actually had a very nice goal. He win a race over there under those conditions, and you got to feel good. And then 2 seconds. So not a bad effort from his 7 runners. I had a lot of fun this week. We had our man Kev Humphrey.
What was it? Opening day, he tabbed the big winner in the finale.
Forget opening day. He about the 50-1 shot on Friday. It could do no wrong. I mean, it just absolutely killed it left and right. He had Savage Dragon as his top one shot pick on Friday for $102 winner. Gave out the winner opening day. Had a winner every day. Sammy Logan as well had a very nice Acta. I chipped in with Onassis on Thursday. He won the night top at 25-1. Vance Hansen was on from Brisbane. Vance gave out 3 winners. And we had so much fun, and the listeners had so much fun with Royal Ascot this week, and everybody went home with their pockets full.
Yeah, Royal Ascot is always fun because it's such a high quality, condensed meat. But now since the Americans go over, there's that rooting interest as well. So it's certainly fun to watch. And speaking of money in the pockets, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, let's take a look at that Empire 6 with the mandatory pay today at Belmont and toss out some ideas, maybe put money in people's pockets this afternoon. Steve Bick on the line. He will be back after the break, as I say, going through the Empire 6 sequence. We'll take a quick break, be back right after this. Stay tuned. Very good.
Wagering on horse racing just got a lot easier at Capital OTB with our newly designed state-of-the-art mobile wagering site. Everything you need is right here on one easy-to-navigate mobile platform. Set your favorite tracks, pick your horses, place your bets, all with a simple tap of the screen. Plus, you'll have access to Capital OTB TV for all our network programming. So log on to CapitalOTBBet.com and see just how easy wagering on horse racing can be. No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Birdstone is an outside front. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
In front, but here comes High Chef Merrow. High Chef Merrow, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish in the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Again, the day after, kicking off the American Triple Crown in 2020 with the Belmont Stakes win by Tislaw. Had a lot of fun yesterday up at Pennell's with the Sackatoga watch party. And a little bit later on, we'll talk with Bruce Cerrone, the owner of Pennell's, who is also a partner in Tislaw, but also replay our interview post-race yesterday with Jack Knowlton from Sackatoga. That's coming up in a little bit. All right, first segment, we did a little review of some of the stakes action yesterday. Now we'll do a little preview of the action today, which includes the Empire 6 mandatory payout. They have, wrote it down, $328,000 in the pool. That will balloon up significantly with a mandatory payoff. So Steve Bick on the line, and we'll toss out some ideas for this afternoon. The fourth race kicks off the Empire today. $25,000 claimers, non-winners of 2 lifetime, the 1-turn mile. I have it 7, 2, 8, and 6. BB Banker on top for Rudy Rodriguez. Likely short price. I also like Luis Saez is on board. I think over the past 3 or 4 days, he has really kind of awakened and has been riding very well. If I was going to take a little shot, I may stand with him on my ticket, but if I was going to take a little shot against More Than Striking with that Beyer 3 races back, now was claimed out of that and hasn't lived up to those Beyer numbers. But again, underneath he has a couple that are good enough. But as I say, I'll probably stand with number 7, BB Banker. Steve, what are your thoughts in the fourth?
I also went 7, 2, 8, 6. Actually, my order as well. And depending on your budget, BB Banker is probably your single in here. I know it's a little off-putting to single in the first leg because you want to give yourself a chance, but I don't see why you don't just go ahead and take the swing right here early, and hopefully it goes your way. It's going to sit off the speed of the 6. One shot at forever. You got to figure that Merrow, the bug is he's gonna light out, and Luis Saez, it's a perfect scenario for him to just sit off the flank and stalk and then take over. I think BB Banker's a single, and I agree with you that More Than Striking, if you do want to go with a backup as a C, I would make, in fact, on my ticket, I made More Than Striking a C.
Yeah, and I should note, you will have an ABC type of a ticket on the website?
Yeah, it's up now at Derby Trail, but I'll put it up on the front page, and I'll put it at the races as well. And we've got Nick Merrow is handicapping the entire Belmont season, and so Nick's analysis is already up there. And after I'm done with you, I'll put it up there.
Nice. All right, fifth race, allowance non-winners are 1 other than 6 furlongs on the grass. I said 3, 7, 6, and 5. Morning Breeze on top for me. Most recently has been on the dirt. But there are turf races down the page a little bit that are just as good. And I think on the numbers, this horse has an edge on most of these. Closest, however, will be Quarky. I talked about him a lot this winter down at Tampa. Mike Deeney, really, he was racing very well down at Tampa. This horse is interesting in that it was based down at Tampa, but over the winter only had a race over at Gulfstream Park. That was a little bit of a dud. But I think a 5-furlong sprint is different than a 6-furlong sprint. And this horse has raced well in New York before at a more like this distance, going 7 and 6 furlongs in previous starts. With the early speed, Luis Saez Quarky's interesting to me. And the Belmont horse Cucina on the lifetime best buyer number last time, which kind of could be an aberration or a signal. Maybe the horse has just gotten good right now. I'm not sure what to do with that one. I'm tempted to go too deep, but Cucina scares me. What are your thoughts on the 5th?
I'm not too far away from you. I went 3, 4, 2, 7, and those that are going to try to get through this on a tight budget, you could lean on Morning Breeze here pretty heavily. I mean, he does this here. As you said, nice turf sprint performances going back to that fall. He spent the winter in New York and basically translated his good efforts along in 2019. He carried them forward on the main track. Now he gets back on grass. He does totally. I actually made the B Mad Money, the Rudy. And here's a horse and he finished the season last year at Aqueduct in November. That effort in a 25 claimer is really quite good, and fit in this field. It's got to improve. However, he's a mature horse, 5-year-old, and getting back on grass, he's a little beat up with those 7-foot binders on the main thing during the winter. Getting back on turf, that comes just right back in, 12-1, and I think he's interesting. I used him as a beat here, but I'm trying to get away cheap as I swing. I'm going to try to tiptoe through the first couple of legs and then spread a little bit later, particularly in the nightcap. So very heavy on Morning Breeze. A little bit of Mad Money. And, after that, I respect Montauk Daddy from Linda Rice, who was ice cold. Linda Rice is like blind without a cane right now. And then you look at Cucina, I think I picked 4th, and Quarky. Quarky, listen, if he doesn't take pressure, I may have to go back and take another look after scratches, because Quarky, if Morning Breeze and/or Mad Money don't, attend the pace and keep Quarky honest, Quarky could lead them on a merry chase here. So you're not wrong, having Quarky on the pecking order. It's a good race, actually. Just a good betting race.
Yeah, fun. 6th race, maiden 75 claimers going a mile on the grass, and always fun to root for the locals. And so your man, Gary Siaka, and Eddie F's Racing, Jasmine-esque. I didn't put that one in the mix. Certainly, though, like to root for the locals. And I was thinking the other day, with no main trip in the front windshield, I may have to stop over at Eddie F's and take advantage of the Wednesday lobster roll special this week. But again, they have Jasmine-esque in here. I have it 1, 8, 2, and 7. I put Tilsa on top. Jonathan Thomas, pretty good numbers, going maiden special weight to maiden claiming. And I thought the maiden special down at Tampa in the career debut was pretty good. So I'll put that one on top. Checks and balances. It's Chad Brown and Klarovich. Win early connections. I'm just not super thrilled that they're debuting for a $75,000 tag. So Lovely Lucky going maiden special weight to maiden claiming off a turf debut that I thought was pretty good number-wise and signaled this horse maybe a nice fit with this field and come storming off some improving numbers. And I thought the seasonal debut was one to build off of. So I have it 1, 8, 2, and 7. I'd probably be tempted to use all of those.
Interesting. I 5, 8, and 2. And you mentioned Champagne Diet, who drops in for Trey Abbott in here. And I thought that Champagne Diet figured prominently. Absolutely like Jasmine. gets back off of a very good return to turf, the seasonal debut on June 7th. So, gets to the Klarovich Chad Brown firster. Feels like, they're starting where they can just win right away. And I don't really want to go much further. I don't know. Tulsa didn't do much, honestly, and Lovely Lucky. Okay. I'm going to use the 5 to 68. I'm only going 3 deep.
All right, so we're button heads here. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out. I could have made a case for all years. I think as I say, I'm talking maybe 4 deep in here. I have really no argument with the horses you pointed at either. 7th race today, it's a $32,000 claimer, 3/4 of a mile. I went 8, 4, 7, and 3. We Don't Believe We're on top. Has some nice positional early speed. It's Rudy getting a little class relief in here, so it seemed kind of logical. Our Lady of Loretto comes off a nice maiden breaker last time. It was a maiden 30, so this is maybe a class question mark. But in the 3rd career start, and with a number that improved nicely, start 1 to start 2, maybe primed for a good effort this afternoon. And Musienko in the 3rd spot. I didn't know which way to go with this horse. The Southern California form was pretty good. The last race, not so much. They were all on turf. The 2 dirt races earlier in the career at Belmont I thought were okay, however. So, again, I wasn't quite sure where to go with this one. I think it'll be a price. I didn't really want to leave it off necessarily, but I'm not sure how this will factor into my ticket, how deep I'll go. But I have it 8, 4, 7, and 3. What do you think in the 7th?
8, 5. 4-3. For me, I'm surprised you didn't take a look at Little Honey.
Yeah.
This is a turn back. A little bit of a layoff, too, because of pandemic. But you look at those 2 races, the Maiden Breaker and the Open Company 25 Claimer victory, back-to-back, going 6 furlongs. Then they tried Tougher Company and stretching out. Well, now turning back, that's all over. And then the 8th, the 2-to-1 obvious player from Michael Dove and Company and Rudy Rod. We Don't Believe Her, who should either be on the lead or drafting at the very least. Our Lady of Loretto, probably the speed in here. But We Don't Believe Her, and then just a little further back, Hot and Funny, they could hit Pounce. So for me, I'm only going to use the 5 and the 8. Try to get away with 2 in there.
Yeah, and I had some notes next to the 5, and with Irado on board, I may regret not having that one in the mix, certainly. 8th race today is the feature race, the Lady Shipman, 6 furlongs on the grass for the fillies. I had it 4, 6, 1, and 11. The 3, I could have made a case there, too. Chili Pettin, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, for Wesley Ward. Amazingly, tries the turf for the first time for Wesley. Had the Royal Ascot. Tries the turf in this country for the first time. Debuted on the dirt at Keeneland, and then last time was on the synthetic at Turfway. But I thought that Turfway race as the seasonal debut was a good one. And so I'll use this horse on top, but she's my type, I think, is a good add as well for Christophe Clement. As you noted, Joe Rosario on turf, sprinting. You have to pay attention to that as well. And then Bredberry from Graham Motion, who, we've talked about him a couple times already this morning. Graham Motion over the past 2 or 3 weeks seems to be on a little roll at various tracks around the country. So Saez on board, probably toss that one in the mix as well. What do you think, the Lady Shipman?
I went 11, 6, 3, and 5, and that 6K McKay on the outside. This is a filly we got kind of familiar with last fall. They were absolutely heartsick that they didn't get to run her in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. They were way down the list of the the ranking order that the committee puts together. It makes the seasonal debut, and any progress, just natural development. And she's going to be a handful, I think, in here. And the 11 doesn't bother me. She can set up shop pretty readily. In terms of drafting along with and get her in a good stalking spot, probably 3rd, 4th. around the turn. Seth, we talked earlier about Joel Rosario. Well, here's Rosario. He's my type, and you're going to get 4-1. This is a horse that Christophe Belmont has for Guylaine Head. I don't see anything wrong with the form coming in up here to 6, and I thought, and I used call on this too, the Stinham for Phoenix Thoroughbred, the Into Mischief, coming back to the grass, and feels like a progressive type that is competitive here. I frankly wanted her in here for a little price boost. We go through this sequence. There really hasn't been much on the price side, so I did want to have the 10-1 call on Mischief. But to me, Big K McKay, and again, if you're on a short leash here, financially, you don't want to spend too much in this. I think you can get away with the 6 and the 11.
Very good. And the finale, we were talking before we went on the air and kind of noting this one's a little bit of a skull buster. And why? Well, they're state-bred maiden claimers. They're going to go 1 mile and 16th on the grass. I went 2, 9, 8, and 12. KK Ichikiwa, twirling candy on top. Good first outsider. The Dam has produced a couple of runners who won early. Amazing Ann was 3rd in the career debut, won the 2nd start. Another sibling called Maggie's Lad did not finish in the career debut, but then ripped off 4 straight wins. So I thought a little breeding top and bottom here. And this is the kind of race where you can take a fresh face. At 10-1, I'll put the 2 in the mix. Hurricane Andrew has the nice number last time that compares nicely with this group. And Bricko, the number 8 horse, looked like a debut to maybe build off of for Jimmy Bond. So again, for me, 2, 9, 8, and 12. What did you think in the finale?
I went 7, 2, 3, 8. You left off Gold Combat, and I'm probably, by the way, going to use the 9 and the 11 as well. I'm going deep in this last leg. It's one of the reasons I tiptoe around some early spots, because this is a bad bunch of coconuts, no matter how you frame it. And you're right about KK Ichikiwa. Fresh face in here, can win to us out, and so, yes, absolutely looking for that kind of a horse, the stranger in a group of horses that have had lots of chances. But the horse that's funny in here that normally I avoid when it comes to pick sixes. You look at a horse like Golconda and you say, well, this horse got a million chances, and when you do $2 pick sixes, you let a horse like this beat you. Golconda and the conditions made for you state-breds. Horses like Golconda break through in this kind of a setting. It has absolutely won a couple of races that can win already, and given what we've been dealing with, with horses that have missed races, not necessarily missed time, but this is a weird scenario. You do get Cadena, it's just terrific. The Buck Boy is aces in my book, and can't get enough of him. He rode Minute Mouse for us 10 days ago, and he rode her beautifully, and she was ranked, and he got her to settle. I really like him, and I like him, staying with this horse. And it wouldn't take much going back to the turf. There were some performances last spring and summer on the grass. Gets back on the grass in this setting, and I think people kind of gloss over Golconda. And today, he does. So all the horses you mentioned, Rico and Hurricane Andrew, stick along, and also share success too. Brad Cox, you got to just after somebody else's horse.
All right, so there we go. A little preview of the Empire 6 today. Again, there will be a mandatory payout today, $328,000 in the pool. They will certainly line up to play it, so jump in today at the 20-cent increment. Steve, appreciate it. A little preview, a little review. Looking forward to tuning into the radio show this week for more review. I'm sure you'll plug in all the major players from the stakes races at Belmont and beyond this weekend as normal. And again, looking forward. Normally after the Belmont Stakes, we have a little bit of a break. I'm up in Maine sitting on the beach for a while and a little time before Saratoga. But now Saratoga right around the corner. And as I noted at the top of the show, looking forward to sitting back in on Sunday mornings for some Loose on the Lead.
Well, I believe it's our 26th season, and it's a fan favorite. And for those of you that are wondering, the pandemic has not dulled our interest and eagerness to make fun of Seth for 7 weeks.
I was thinking on the drive in this morning, maybe I'll get some new ties out of it.
You will get new ties. So there will be Sackatoga. There'll be parakeets in the cage. There'll be nature and nurture. All of your favorites. There'll be back for our 39th.
I forgot about parakeets.
That's my all-time favorite. Continues to be. When I looked at you and do you mean a canary in a coal mine? Yeah,
I was in the ballpark. Now I'm not going to be able to complete the end of the show. I pop over to Saratoga Harness every once in a while, and I'm up in the Simulcast area occasionally, and there's a woman in there all the time says, "Hey, I saw you on TV this morning. Was that a Sackatoga tie?" And I have to pause and say, "Yes, it was."
Let's be honest, it always is. Because, your ties. The ties that you actually owned and were wearing, they've disintegrated. There's simply only sets of ties now that are made, instead of being made from rayon, they're actually silk. So they hold up a little better.
So more of this coming up in just a few weeks when we kick off again another season of Loose on the Lead Sunday mornings, live from the Saratoga backstretch. And that will bring some sense of normalcy to people, at least. Steve, appreciate the visit. And again, looking forward to getting back together again.
You bet, and I'll be there all summer.
Very good. Steve Bick, Sirius and XM's At the Races. Again, tune in this week for some nice recap action of what happened this weekend, Belmont and beyond. All right, I promised it at the top of the show, so we'll, before we wrap up, look at those interviews, Bruce Cerrone and Jack Knowlton. We'll put Bruce first. Bruce, owner of Pennell's, and I will say, before I left Pennell's last night, I grabbed a little lasagna. It was fabulous. And they're on a limited seating, 50% capacity. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but it's a little limited. Bruce said if you want to go over to Pennell's for some dinner, that they have 3 days a week now. I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Call for reservations. But they had a decent little crowd last night, and as I say, the lasagna, excellent. But Bruce hosted the Sackatoga party at Pennell's yesterday, but he's also a partner in Tis the Law, so we pulled him over after the race just to find out what it's like to be a partner in a horse like that and win the first leg of the 2020 Triple Crown. Coming up next, Bruce Cerrone. By Bruce Cerrone, the proprietor here at Pennell's, where we had the Sackatoga Belmont Stakes watch party, but not only the proprietor of Pennell's, also a Sackatoga partner and a partner in Tis the Law. Give me your reaction as a partner.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's been a ride.
Before the race, I said, you looked a little nervous before the race.
Yeah. Listen, it's been an unbelievable ride so far, and we got a lot to do yet. But Jack's top class as far as managing partner of all this. Keeps everything running smooth. And the best thing I heard is Barkley Tagg saying it's the most intelligent horse he's ever trained. It says a lot.
Yeah, and I asked a couple of other partners a little bit earlier. Give me your expectations when you jump in on a horse like this. And you think, hey, maybe we get a New York Bred Stakes winner, and it turns out to win 3 Grade 1s.
I know. So for me, it's always, some people buy cars, some people buy boats. And my little bit of what I want to spend money on is a shot at a horse, but never expect to get anything out of it. It's a fun hobby, and it's a reasonable amount of money to invest when you're in a big group like this.
And again, you kind of hosted the group today, and talk a little bit about the group and the reactions. That was a lot of fun.
That was definitely. listen, Saratoga's a great town to grow up in because this is what happens, So.
And a few weeks, Travers maybe.
August 8th.
Yeah.
I think that's on the docket for sure. Yeah.
And that just thinking you have a horse being entered for the Travers and a probable favorite being a Saratoga guy, that has to feel great.
It is. It's insane. I might have to add on to the restaurant for that party, though. So.
Good. Yeah. I like that. We were talking to Bruce earlier. Pennell's currently under this situation. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Call for reservations?
Absolutely, yeah. We're doing 50% occupancy, and as they say, put on a mask.
Mask up.
Because tis the law. Right?
Like that. We'll leave on that note. Yeah. Bruce Cerrone from Pennell's.
All right.
Again, had a great time there yesterday. Appreciate Jack and Sackatoga inviting us up and Bruce hosting. And as they say, the lasagna, very good. We will, as we come out, I'll come back on at the end and wrap up the show. But I just do want to tee up. At the end of the day yesterday, we talked to Jack Knowlton after the race. Obviously, you want to talk to Jack. But again, it was the end of the day on OTB Live. So for folks who maybe weren't tuned in at that point, we thought we'd replay it this morning. So up next, post-race, post-victory, Jack Knowlton, Sackatoga, 'tis the law.
Welcome back. We wanted to cap the day with an exclamation point, and we're going to do it here at Pennell's with the Sackatoga Belmont Stakes watch party and managing partner Jack Knowlton. Jack, congratulations.
Thank you. What a day.
I got some great video. We'll drop it into the show tomorrow of the whole crew watching the race, and it was just explosive. We just watched the replays. You sat down here. And before I get your overall emotions on the day, just talk about the performance. We just watched it. Manny, as you said, sitting in a great position all the way around on the turn, makes a little move and pulls away.
No, I mean, this horse, really, it was a replay of the Florida Derby. And when we drew the 8 post, I just felt really good. And Barkley, I've never seen him as confident going into a race as he was with this race. I mean, it was just unbelievable that he was that confident. He really was confident that he would win the race, and that's not typically Barkley. I mean, he's not a guy that does that. And the way he talked, the last couple of weeks, how good Tiz was doing and how he'd gotten bigger and stronger, and I just had an awful lot of confidence. But it's a horse race, and I know that the best horse doesn't always win, and we certainly thought he was the best horse, but today got it done. And I think, anybody that's got any doubts about him, and I know, I think it was Randy Moss that said, well, the only race he's ever lost was at Churchill. Well, we drew a line through that race. I told everybody to do that when that race was done. Manny said it wasn't, the condition of the track, it was the trip. I mean, he just got stuck down inside. I think the Kentucky jockeys did a job on Manny, and it wasn't really Manny's fault because he didn't break that day. If you look at his last 3 races, he's out of there like a shot and gives Manny every option that he wants. So, we're excited. Certainly seeing what he did today, we think 1.25 miles is well within his range, and hopefully he can prove it at Saratoga Racecourse.
Yeah, we just watched him pull away in the stretch, and we're commenting, 1.25 miles should be well within his wheelhouse. Have you had a chance to contact Barkley yet?
I talked to Robin. Barkley, I tried him, but I'm sure he's doing what I'm doing now, talking to media. But Robin was just ecstatic, and, this is a really big deal. As I said, Barkley doesn't get a lot of horses like this. I mean, it's been, 13 years since Funnyside retired, and he's had some nice horses, had some Grade 1 turf horses, but this is a big deal for him. I mean, we all know. I mean, Barkley is on the downside of his career. He's not a young man anymore. So winning this for me is very gratifying.
Sure.
I'm hoping that people are going to at least think about him for Hall of Fame, because he's won an awful lot of big races. I mean, not just with our horses, but he's won the Wood, he's won the Alabama. I mean, he's won the Secretariat, the Hollywood Derby. I mean, it goes on and on. So hopefully people will pay attention. If we could win the Derby, that would clinch it. So maybe we can get a shot at that.
And first Saturday in September, before that, as you say, the Travers, and as a Saratoga guy, I'm guessing that the rejiggered Triple Crown is kind of working out nicely at this point, and before the Derby, you get a shot at the Travers.
Well, we can't complain about that. I mean, and we know that there are a lot of people that if you were to win the Triple Crown, there's going to be an asterisk. Well, I hear other people say, well, it's a bigger challenge to go the period from, the 20th of June until the 3rd of October to win those 3 races. So we'll see. We've got the only chance to do it.
That's right, after today's win. And I asked some of your partners, I'll ask you as well, match up the expectations, because you've mentioned it before when we've had you on the show. You look for New York breds, and you're looking for a New York bred stakes winner, and you've had plenty of them already. But then you wind up with a horse like Tiz the Law, who has 3 grade 1s on the resume now. So match up the expectations to how this has played out.
I mean, it's just beyond belief. But, it's kind of the same formula that's happened twice. We got first-time sires, and nobody knew how good they were going to be. I mean, we all know what Constitution has turned into. And, funny side, distorted humor still is pumping out greatest stakes winners. So we've been fortunate, but I give all the credit to Barkley and Robin. I mean, they're our bloodstock agents. We're not out there hiring people to do it. We're not, doing all the tests that they do, how big is their heart and all that. I mean, it's just old-fashioned horsemanship. They're picking the horses, and I raise the money. And here we are now with a horse that's won, I guess about $1.5 million now after today.
Yeah, very good. And before we let you go, just talk a little bit about, as I say, it was fabulous in here, and just watching the crowd and your gang here watch the race. I got some good video of that. As I say, we'll play on Racing Across America tomorrow. But just talk about it. I mean, it's a different situation. You couldn't be on track, but this was pretty special. And you had a couple of interviews, NBC a little before the race, a little after the race. So talk about today out here.
No, it was special. And, the next best thing to be in there, we had about half of our partners here. And as you can see, they just had a blast. And hopefully one of these races coming up, maybe the Travers, but I think certainly the Derby. Fact is now that at least we won the Belmont, going into the Derby we'll get special consideration, and I'm going to get those school buses geared up, and we'll have a school bus shirt coming out pretty quickly.
Well, Saratoga certainly likes Sackatoga. Did you see the bike train come here with the cowbells?
No,
whole crew came through, and congratulations.
That was neat. Well, it is a big deal. It's a little bit different this time because Funny Side was born out at McMahon's, and he was truly a Saratoga horse.
Yeah.
But Sackatoga is headquartered in Saratoga, and this New York bred today, first horse in 120 some years. Now people will say, it doesn't count because it was only 1.1 miles. Well, it's still a Belmont. We're going to get a trophy and we're going to get a purse. So. I'll take all of that with a grain of salt. And he got the job done, and we're looking forward to more opportunities. The next 2 races are 1.25 miles. I clearly think he can handle that, and we'll see. I don't know whether we're going to see any of the California horses come east for the Travers. I would guess probably not, because the race everybody wants to win is the Derby.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we'll see AP Honor here. I don't think that Bob's going to send, his horse here. So, but we'll see. Whoever it is, I think they know that they're going to have a tough time beating Tiz at this point.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun. If there are no fans, I'm guessing a lot of people outside the fence on Nelson Avenue.
It'll be a little bit scary. I would not want to have to deal with that.
Yeah,
Talk about protests. And we may have a protest about not being able to get into the racetrack here.
Yeah, folks are really going to be looking forward to the Travers this afternoon, then the Derby, and then the Preakness as well. We wish you a lot of good luck going forward with Tiz the Law. And again, it was fabulous today, so congratulations on the victory.
Thank you very much.
Jack Knowlton, managing partner of Sackatoga.
Saratoga folks for inviting us up yesterday. We had a great time being there live. I mean, it was just put an exclamation on the day when, as you saw, the whole gang, as they watched the stretch run, the place erupted, and it just had a ton of fun up there. And for folks, if you were tuned in during the afternoon, hopefully we conveyed a little of that as well. We talked to Jack during the afternoon, and we talked to some of the other partners. As you saw, we had Bruce Cerrone, the owner of Pennell's, and thanks to them as well for hosting. And he's a partner, and got some of his post-race reaction. It's just a fabulous day. It was a lot of fun. Kicking off a very different version of the Triple Crown, but the whole Sackatoga story made it a lot of fun yesterday. And now on to the Travers. So we'll see how that works out. With the Travers, if you didn't hear this week, the Travers got moved up August 8th, I believe it is. It's essentially now prepping for the logically placed to prep for the first Saturday in May Kentucky Derby. So the stake schedule came out this week for Saratoga, and things are a little bit different, particularly the Travers coming earlier in the meet. But that's sounds like next stop for Tis the Law, so we wish them a lot of luck. All right, I'm going to wrap it up because, as usual, I'm late, so I have to get out of here. But you'll be plenty of time for the NYRA pregame show and whatnot. I will be back on in a little over an hour with OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. Don't forget, parlors are now open. I don't think I have my list here, unfortunately, because I brought it with me yesterday. But it includes the Clubhouse Racebook, Latham, Columbia Turnpike. I'll list them during the afternoon. I'll dig my list out. As I say, I brought it with me to Pennell, so normally I have it sitting next to me, but I have it in my mix of papers here. But I'll pull it out and we'll update you this afternoon. You can also check the website, Easy Bets. There's a whole list of them that are open, but that's right on the front page of the website. If you're an Easy Bet patron, you can go see if yours is open right now. So the options, also Phonabet, the operators are back in action now. If you're a Phonabet person, you can do that. And obviously, you can always play via the app or on your computer with capitalotbbet.com. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for Racing Across America for this morning. Thanks to Steve Bick for joining us. And again, thanks to the folks at Sackatoga for the great afternoon yesterday. Back in about, as I say, an hour and a half or so for OTB Live on a Sunday afternoon. We'll see you then.
Spotted the outside stall, and they're all in line. We're ready for the start. They're off in the Belmont Stakes, and the Triple Crown is underway. Tis the Law approach sharply, tap it to win on the inside, will grab the front in the run up the backstretch, and four left is moving through in between horses. Tis the Law is next on the outside, Pneumatic follows in fourth, and then it's Dr. Post, followed by Jungle Runner to the inside. Break up another Ford of Modernist at Farmington Road, and then Max Blair, Sole Valente, and Luca Pinici at the back of the field after opening quarter mile in 23.11 seconds. The pace is honest for Tap It to Win, who heads up the backstretch in front by a length and a half. With four left sitting in second position, Manny Franco and Tis the Law are third on the outside of Longshot Jungle Runner, who's down toward the rail. The Dr. Post, Pneumatic, on their inside is Modernist. Farmington Road is right in behind them. 7 lengths from the front, then Max Player and Sole Valente. 46.16 was the half. The pace continues to be strong as they race for the far turn. And it is Tap It to Win and John Velasquez leading the way. With four left in second, and Tis the Law looming large. Third on the outside, just 2 lengths behind as they make the run around the curve. In Pneumatic, and Modernist is down on the inside. They're coming toward the top of the stretch here. Tap It to Win is the leader. Tis the Law catching up to him on the outside second. Then it's four left, followed by Pneumatic. Modernist on the inside is next. And they're into the stretch of the Belmont. And Tis the Law has taken charge. Set down in the final furlong by Manny Franco. Tis the Law's got a 2-length lead. Dr. Post has moved up on the outside into second. Pneumatic is third, but it is the New York hero, Tis the Law, and Manny Franco to win the Belmont Stakes. They took it by 4 lengths in the end. Dr. Post was second, Max Blair was third.
TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.